So let's have a look at the layer properties manager palette. So when you click on this layer properties icon, this layer properties manager palette will open up. Now this is just like any other palette in AutoCAD. You can resize it, you can dock it, you can hide it, and if you move it to this side, it will dock it automatically. In order to release it, simply click on this and bring it outside. Now this layer properties manager has a list of all the layers and its related properties. The layer which is currently active will be shown with this green check mark, and you can change the status of currently active layer by selecting any other layer and clicking on this icon. So that will set current that layer. So in this case we have this dim layer which is now active and which is now set as the current layer. So by simply setting any layer as the current layer, you are essentially telling AutoCAD to make any new geometries on that layer. So in this case, I have set dim layer as the current layer. So I'll now hide this palette and now I'll make a new drawing. And this drawing will be made on dim layer. So when you click on this object, you'll notice that we have this dim here. That indicates that the current layer for this object is dim. Even when you uncheck it, you'll notice that dim layer is active. But if you select any other object, for example this object, the layer changes to 0, which was the active layer for this object. Similarly, if you select this text, it will change to the respective layer, which is text. So in order to make any of these layers active, you can activate that layer from this layer properties manager simply by selecting that layer and clicking on this set current option. Or you can also make it active layer from this drop down menu. So click on this drop down and change it to something else. For example, this layer 0. Now we have 0 layer as active layer. Now I'll make a new geometry and it will be made on layer 0. When you click on it, layer 0 will be shown here. So let's now erase both of these geometries and let's expand this layer properties manager. So you can change multiple properties of a layer. We'll start with the color. In this case, here we have this color column and all of these layers have a single color, which is white, and that's the color which we see here. Now let's say that we want to change colors of some of these layers. I'll start with the dim layer. So we have this dim layer. Let's select this color box and this will open this select color window. Now from this window you can select any of these colors, and if this window is not sufficient, you can select the colors from this true color. That will give you more options to select the color, or you can use color books. For this case, I'll select index colors and I'll select this green color and now click on OK. So the layer has been assigned green color and all the objects on this dim layer are now taking that property. So you can directly see it in the drawing area. Also, we have all of these dimensions now colored in green. Let's move to the hatch layer and we'll change its color to cyan and click OK. Similarly, we can change the color for text layer. You can change it to red if you want, or any other color. And we have this C line layer also. Let's select it and let's change it color to magenta and click on OK. So in this way you can apply different colors to different layers, and that will help you in identifying these different objects in the drawing area. Now we have some properties here like on, off, freeze, thaw, and lock, unlock. Now we'll have a look at that, but before that I'll simply move this palette over here and I'll move this drawing area just towards right. Let's decrease the size of this palette also. Now we have this complete drawing in view. So we have this on and off option, and using this on off option you can hide some of the objects from your drawing area. For example, here we have this dimension layer. Now if you click on this light bulb icon, it will turn off this current layer and all of the objects in that layer will hide from your drawing area. To bring it back, simply click on this bulb icon again and it's back in the drawing area. Similarly, you can freeze any of these layers. So here we have an option of freezing the layers. So when you click on this freeze icon, it will freeze it, and you can click on it again to thaw it or bring it back. So visibly, on and off and freeze thaw have same effect on the drawings, but when you freeze your drawing, not only the objects become invisible from the drawing area, but they also become invisible from the background processing of your PC. So when you freeze any of these layers, the objects on that layer will not be counted for regeneration. So AutoCAD will regenerate or refresh your drawings without considering those objects. So that will improve the performance of your software visibly, and this is especially helpful for large drawings. So in large drawings, you can freeze the layers which are not required to improve the performance of your drawing and of your software as a whole. So for small drawings, on and off and freeze thaw will have no visible effect apart from hiding the objects. Now let's have a look at this lock and unlock. So using this lock layer, you can simply lock the objects and it will become uneditable. So you won't be able to modify objects on that layer. Also, when you lock any of the layers, the objects on that layer will dim in color, and you can see that the transparency has been increased here. Now we have the 50% transparency, and this small lock icon will also appear along the cursor. The transparency of this locked layer can be controlled by this transparency slider. So you can bring this slider here to restore the complete transparency, or you can move it here if you want to increase the transparency, just like this. So I'll change its transparency back to 50%, and I'll also unlock this layer. So we not only have these many options, we also have lots of other options in this palette. So let's expand this palette. And now we have this line type. So obviously you can change the line type also, but for line type, I'll select this C line layer. Now in this C line layer, we have this continuous line type. Let's click here and let's select this center line type instead. Now, if not many line types are loaded here in the drawing, you can simply click on this load and you can load more line types like ISO dash, and you can use it. So let's use this center line type for this case, and I'll click on OK. And when you look into drawing area, you'll notice that the line type of the object on that layer will change. Similarly, you can change the line weight. So I'll change the line weight to 0.3. Click on OK. And here we have a visible result. And obviously, you can change the transparency. So the value of transparency will range from 0 to 90, and you can change it to any value which you want. So I'll select 70 and click on OK. And here we have it, the transparency has been reduced. In case of line weight and transparency, you need to ensure that this line weight display and this transparency display status bar options are active in order to see its effect. So if you turn off this line weight display, obviously the line weight will not be visible. Similarly, if you turn off this transparency option, the transparency will not be visible. So make sure that these options are active. There is also an option of this plot. Now, when you turn off the plot for any of these layers, the objects will not be plotted. For example, I'll turn off the plot for this dim layer, which contains this green object or the dimensions. So let's zoom out and let's decrease the size of this palette. Now, all of these dimensions will not appear when you plot your drawing. Whether you print it on a paper or you take the output on a PDF file, it will not appear. To make it visible, you need to ensure that the plot is on. The def points layer will always have this plot turned off by default, and you cannot change this value. So let's decrease the size of this palette, and that was all about the Layer Properties Manager palette.